How is everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I want to talk about War of the Planet of the Apes. This was a great movie. I recommend you go see it. Go see it right now, just like I did last night in the very first showing. There was a lot of applause in the movie theater after it was over. I think everybody in there pretty much enjoyed it. But before I get into my detailed analysis of it, before I get into the social reaction from the poster and Black Lives Matter, before I get into any SJW elements that may or may not be in the movie, before I take my personal feelings about the movie and how I was moved or not moved, what I want to do is talk about the previous two movies that have come out before this. Now, of course, this is a very old franchise. It dates back to the 1960s, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the previous two movies that have come out led up to this one, so it's very important that you understand. Now, the first movie that has come out as of recently was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That came out in 2011, and that was an origin story essentially for the main character, for the protagonist of the Planet of the Apes franchise, and that is Caesar, the talking ape who's very smart. He's the leader, and that was a very good movie. It was more balanced than the next one and then this one. In my humble opinion, it really touched me. It moved me. I can really relate to a lot of the characters. It was a good movie through and through. Now, the second movie that came out in 2014, that was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this movie was pretty good as well, but it did not quite capture what the first one had, which was more of the emotion. It was the drama. You felt connected to the characters in the first one more than the second one. The second one was more about betrayal, conflict between humans and apes, apes and apes, humans and humans. It was more about that. That movie was more about the war, in my humble opinion, than the more recent one. Although I thoroughly enjoyed the more recent one, which is called War of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this movie was probably what people were asking for in the second one, because in the first one, everybody wanted that feeling, that feeling that they got in their heart as it relates to being able to relate to the characters, understanding their plight, understanding where they come from, and really rooting for them and being in their corner. I think the second one kind of missed the mark on that, but it really hitched its wagons to the action adventure, big budget, overseas, China. They went that whole route in the second one, but it was still a good movie because it had the element of interpersonal communication or inter-ape communication and conflict and strife, right? Because you're talking about Caesar and Koba. Koba was ape that went kind of off the lamb and betrayed Caesar, and Koba had been betrayed by the humans or treated unfairly by the humans because of the testing. Now, the testing, that's also important because in the first movie, the main character Caesar was like a foster child, essentially, because his mother had been tested on by humans to try and cure Alzheimer's. One day, Caesar's mother goes into a rage during some kind of meeting with humans. I think it might have been the board of directors meeting. She goes crazy and then they kill her. They don't know the reason why she went crazy was because she had recently birthed Caesar, not because of the drug acting up or anything like that. So Caesar is born to this mother that had been administered these drugs. Therefore, he inherits her intelligence. Caesar is basically fostered by humans, and they raise him and they treat him like a pet, kind of. And he's able to understand that later. So, of course, things go from there. He's able to obtain this medicine that his mother had been given. And at this point, it was a different form of it because the first one wasn't really working. He was able to obtain that, give it to the other apes. Now all the apes are smart, but the side effect to having the apes be smart from this new medication, I think it was called AOZ 113, was that it created a virus in humans, which was called the simian flu. And we saw in the first movie at the end of it how the virus began to spread. In the second movie, we saw the virus spread much further, and that created a lot of conflict between human, ape, human, ape, etc. But in the third one here, we've seen pretty much post-apocalyptic world. Right. We're seeing burnt out trucks and people like really living off the land, and everybody's pretty much succumbed to the virus except for a select few people. Now, I would not tell you about the virus and how it changed because it does change in this movie, but you got to go see it for that. Getting back to this movie and on track with the plot here, it was a great movie overall because of how it made me feel. Right. It was what I was looking for in the second movie. And I think they may have gone a little bit over the top with the feelings aspect of it, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless because throughout the whole movie, I felt like the characters, you were able to connect to them. You were able to kind of feel empathy for all the characters, even the villain in the movie, who was Woody Harrelson. Now, I won't tell you what he did and why he's the villain, but there's one point in the movie, probably like midway, where he has a little bit of a talk with Caesar, and you begin to understand why he's doing what he's doing. Now, you don't agree with it. You don't like what he's doing, but at the same time, you understand why he's doing it and you empathize with him. Somebody asked me what message did I get from the movie? Well, it wasn't really a big message that I got, but if anything, I would say that things are not always black and white. You can label somebody as a villain. You can label somebody as a bad guy, but that does not always mean that they're a bad guy or a villain. So if there was any message I got from the movie, it was most certainly that, have empathy for people, even if you don't like them or agree with what they're doing. Now, talk about the poster and the Black Lives Matter reaction, because, this is guy DeRay McKesson. He's a leader of Black Lives Matter, or former leader, or he became famous from Black Lives Matter and race baiting and stuff like that. He always wears a blue vest, no matter what. I've seen him wear a pink romper. He's gay, of course. I've seen him wear a pink romper at certain events with a blue vest over it. It's 100 degrees outside in the shade, but he has on a romper with a goose vest. I'm not really sure how that makes any sense, but I guess it's like part of his trademark. I've also seen him at a black tie fair wearing that same vest. I mean, it was very strange. If you saw the picture, he looks kind of scary. Everybody's like socializing and smiling and whatnot. He's looking straight ahead, stoic, looking like a psychopath, Charles Manson style, but I digress. Now, everybody knows that the blue vest, that's pretty much what he does. So he sees the poster and he makes a couple of tweets, which I put on the screen before you, talking about how it's insensitive, about how Hollywood depicts black people as apes, this, that, and the third. And then somebody had to educate him. It's like, hey, wait a minute, sir. Remember, I'm not sure if you ever seen this movie, but back in the 60s, all the apes had on the blue vest. So if anything, this was a hearkening back to the original series that came out in the 1960s, right? Not you. So he deleted those tweets, of course, after he saw that. People still pretty much ran with it because they saw his original tweets and they probably didn't see him delete the tweets. And of course, there was no real retraction. So that whole thing was a nothing burger. But there is one character that has on the blue vest in the movie. And I'll just say that the character brings humor to it. Now, I won't tell you about the specific things they were saying or where they came from. Just look at the movie and then you'll be able to see kind of where I was coming from with that. Now, as far as the humor is concerned, there is humor here, but it is not odd. Most of the movie is pretty dramatic and intense, and it allows for you to be able to understand what the characters are doing because there's not a lot of dialogue. There's not much talking throughout the movie. Some of the apes do talk aside from Caesar. The apes that talk don't talk a whole lot, and the apes that don't talk do not sound a whole lot. So there's not a whole lot of dialogue here, but you're able to understand what's going on even without a copious amount of dialogue. I think I probably will talk more in this video than was dialogue in the whole movie, but it does not take away from what the movie was because you understand what's going on. There's certain things that you don't have to speak to be able to recognize or to comprehend. And the movie did this very well. As far as any action is concerned, there is action throughout the entire movie, close to the beginning, close to the end, close to the middle. There were certain times where the action happened, but there were certain times where it was more dramatic. It kind of came across like a certain video game, like Last of Us in certain places. It also came across like Batman Arkham Knight in certain places. But I don't want to spoil that for you either. But if you played those games, you kind of understand what I mean. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I think when you see it, you'll definitely understand what I mean. And it also kind of came across like Old Man Logan in certain points. Most certainly, certain points, it came across like Old Man Logan. But I think that's a good thing because I enjoy Old Man Logan. That was a good movie. I've not played Last of Us entirely, but I have played a little bit of it and I enjoyed that. And I beat Batman Arkham Knight, so I enjoyed that as well. And I think if you played those video games, you kind of understand where this movie is going. Maybe they drew some reference from those video games. It's possible because I know that no idea is really original under the sun. But at the end of the day, it's most certainly a go see right now. I did not see it in 3D. I saw it in standard definition. I wear glasses, so I'm not really fond of putting the goggles or paper glasses over top of my glasses right now. So I saw it in standard definition. The sound was great, great soundscape, great music. It was pretty ambient at times, but then at certain times it kind of ramped up, and it was overall good. Go watch it. Bring your family. Go by yourself. Whatever you got to do, go watch it. Get it on Blu-ray when it comes out. And also, I recommend going and see the most recent 2 movies before you go see this one, because there are certain things that happen in the movie that you'll be able to better understand if you've seen the previous 2 recently, because they'll be fresh in your mind. So it'll be kind of a continuation of sorts. It's like watching Netflix and binge watching, because a lot of times one episode will have pieces of the previous episode in it. It's a continuation of sorts. And I think this movie most certainly did that very well, from the previous 2 movies and also from the old movies. Some of the music, and I recognize that. I could tell just by listening to it that it came from the old movie, even though I've not seen the old movie, but I could tell that the music came from that period of time. So overall, great movie. Go watch it. If you enjoy drama with action and a little bit of comedy that all fits together very well, like a puzzle, like a colorful puzzle, right? A very colorful puzzle with all kind of pieces that are in there is great. I recommend you go watch it. Oh, and one more thing. There were some allegations of racism and stuff like that, or racial overtones. No such thing existed, in my humble opinion. There are some scenes in the movie that harken back to a time of extreme racism in the country, maybe even the world, if you want it to be that. But I didn't look at it like that. I was able to empathize with all sides, with the humans and the apes, and I understood both of their situations, right? The apes trying to survive, humans trying to survive. That's pretty much what it was. And sometimes both sides do things that are not the correct thing to do. But definitely go watch it. Go watch the previous 2 movies that have come out before this, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and you'll be able to get a better picture as to what's going on in a complete and total way. So that's pretty much all I got to say about it. So have you seen the movie yet? What do you think about it? Give me some comments in the comments below. Keep it spoiler free as possible, please, because I recommend everybody go watch it. It's out today. I saw it last night on the first showing. Like I said, people were clapping in the theater. People enjoyed it. So I think you'll enjoy it as well. So whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.